All right, let's see if we can't wrap up Chapter 5, or sort of Chapter 5 overview. We're going to talk about two things, order of operations, and we'll talk about some equations too. We're pretty much just kind of revisiting all the topics we did with fractions, just obviously with decimals this time. So order of operations still goes by the same old rules, our PEMDAS rules, right? Looking for any kind of parentheses in grouping stuff, exponents and roots, and so on and so forth. We've got a little bit of each of these here. We have 3.2 minus 1.9. That's probably as good a place as any to start. This is going to be 12, right, at 2. So that's going to be a 1.3 in our parentheses here. It's going to get squared 4.26 and 11.74. I'll sort of just tell you guys. I on purpose picked that to get us to 16. But if we stack them and add them over on the side, of course, you should get a 16. On purpose, trying to get us something that will have a semi-decent root, right? The root of 16 would be 4. And then this 1.3 squared, so this is kind of like 13 squared, which would be 169. But of course, what's going to happen to us here is... right, so we get our kind of 169, but we have not one but two decimal places, right? So it's 169 with two decimals coming in, so that's going to be a 1.69, and then we're subtracting it off. So 4 minus 1.69, where's that going to leave us? We'll pull this off to the side, I suppose. 4.00 minus 1.69 should be like 2.31, 10, this is 9, this is 3, 1, 3, 2.31. That's the basics here, right? So kind of just running through all of our decimal operations, just in order, the order of the operations. That's what we've got. I'll do another one just kind of fast. Let's do... this is a decent one. 12.3, let's subtract 1.8 divide by 6, and then this whole thing is all over. Let's do 0.004 times 1,000. So there's a couple different numbers flying around here. Just to get started, in some sense, this is kind of like two different problems, right? This is sort of a numerator problem and a denominator problem. Up top, so 12.3 minus 1.8 divide by 6. We're going to do this division first, right, before we subtract. 1.8 divide by 6. 18 divide by 6 would be 3. So 1.8, this is going to become a 0.3. So 12.3 minus 0.3, so that's just going to give us a 12 in the numerator. So this guy becomes a 12. Down in the bottom, in the denominator, we didn't really talk about this, but if you multiply or you divide by powers of 10, all you're doing is you're shifting the decimal place sort of over, either to the left or the right. So in this case, if I've got 0.004, I'm multiplying it by 1,000. So that's 10 cubed. Every 10 you multiply by shifts your decimal once to the right. You're sort of multiplying by 10, just sort of makes you 10 times bigger. So in this case, in some sense, what you're going to do is you're going to say, 1, 2, 3 zeros is going to be 1, 2, 3 shifts. So this is going to go 1, 2, 3 shifts to the right. So without even necessarily setting this up, this would become, in some sense, a 4.0 or just a 4, right? So this whole thing becomes then for us 12 divided by 4, which is going to sort of simplify or divide down to a whole number 3. And that's that. So kind of starting with decimals here, right? But that's not to say that we're guaranteed to get a decimal in our final answer. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. Again, the book and I, to a certain extent, trying our best to give you semi-decent numbers and sort of values to work with, not necessarily leave you with incredibly long decimal things. Solving equations with decimals is really going to be nothing fancy, honestly. You just kind of solve them like you would before in chapter 3. There's not really, you could do sort of a multiply by 10 or multiply by 100 and sort of shift all your decimals away, but that doesn't necessarily gain you any kind of great advantage. Honestly, it's not like that's going to make some gigantic difference in what you're doing. So why do it? I don't know. I would just skip it, honestly. So let's just run kind of maybe one or two of these. Nothing super wild. 6.4x equals 3 plus 4x. So the moves here are going to be the same kind of moves that we would have done in chapter 3. We'll try to get our sort of x terms together and our number terms together, and then we'll sort of divide stuff away. So in this case, let's shift our x's to the left. We'll sort of subtract this 4x over. 6.4 minus 4, I'm hoping it's obvious enough that would leave us with 2.4x, so equals 3. So this is 2.4 times x, so to get rid of it, I'm going to do a division by 2.4. So that I kind of just need to sort of do down here or sort of over somewhere. 2.4, right, going into 3.0, so then that's really going to become for us, right, 24 going into 30, let's say sort of 0.0. Obviously it doesn't go in evenly. It goes in once. Is 24, subtract, we get 6. This comes down, 24 will go in there twice, be 48. So that's going to be what, 12, so need another 0, and then that's going to be 5. So it looks like this x is going to be 1.25. So these kind of steps, right, nothing super wild, the same kind of equation solving steps that we've been doing here for a while. We could take something like, let me take one that's like just a little longer. Let's see if we can fit this in without causing any issues. Let's do 2.2. Let's do y minus 5 equals 2.7y plus 4.1. Something kind of like that. So again, same kind of generic solution steps. Obviously, if we have any parentheses and sort of multiplication, we've got to distribute as a step 1. So that's going to be 2.2y minus, so 2.2 times 5. If this was a 22 times 5, it would be 110. So 2.2 times 5 is going to be 11. Just to save space, I'm just going to kind of write that in. I hope that's sort of clear where that's coming from. So equals 2.7y plus 4.1. So I've got a little bit, got some numbers on each side. I got some variables on each side. Let's subtract 4.1 and let's subtract 2.2y. I'm saying the subtraction because then it's going to leave me with a positive 0.5y over here on the right, and then this is kind of negative 15.1. Negative 15.1, of course, could be better. But I'm just going to divide by 0.5. That's a pretty reasonable division. So this is sort of 0.5 dividing into 15.1, but of course this will shift once and once. So this is really 5 going into 151. I know that's not going to go in evenly, so I'll throw a 0 on there. Let's see if we can't wrap it up. So 5 into 1, not so much, but into 15, 3 times. 1 comes down, 5 does not go into 1. 0 comes down, 5 does go into 10 twice. So this is going to be 30.2. This started as a negative, so my final answer here, y would equal negative 30.2, right? So this is a negative divided by a positive 0.5. So we're going to end up negative over positive. is negative. And that's the basics of it. So just our sort of usual chapter 3 kind of solution techniques. We just have to like do decimal arithmetic as we go. Kind of no more, no less. That's what we need to do. And that's chapter 5. That's kind of our overview. Good stuff. Good stuff.